Hello, and welcome to this month's edition of Three Torches, where students bring you an inside look at what's going on at the university and throughout the Tallahassee community. I'm your host, Alexandra DeCapua, and right now I'm standing in front of Florida State's historic Westcott building. Built in 1910, it's the oldest site of continuous higher education in the state of Florida. On this episode of Three Torches, we spotlight a podcast celebrating FSU's esteemed alumni. We visit Florida State's own Top Guns over at the Veterans Center, and we dig up the dirt on Dr. Greg Erickson. Florida State is home to the largest alumni base in the country, and there's a podcast to celebrate and engage them all. Hosted by Keith Cottrell is the Echoes podcast, brought to you by reporter Julia McCarthy.
Welcome to Echoes, the official podcast of the Florida State University Alumni Association.
For 2 seasons so far, the Echoes podcast by Florida State University's Alumni Association has connected current students and faculty with successful alumni. With Florida State having more than 380,000 alumni worldwide, Echoes was born from the mind of Alumni Association CEO Julie Decker as a way of remaining relevant to FSU alumni.
We have right now 381,000 alumni worldwide. That's the largest alumni base in the country. And so it was a chance to be able to tell our story. It was a chance to meet our alumni where they are and have it as an on-demand part of connecting back and engaging with the university.
As director of Seminole Clubs at the Alumni Association and host of the Echoes podcast, Keith Cottrell has a huge passion for FSU and the impact it's had on him. He shares his own experiences with other successful alumni every other week.
Because each one of them has taught me something when I've learned and kind of sat there and listened to their answers. I'm hearing it for the first time, the same way the listener to the podcast is. So it's a really interesting chance to see how they experienced, and we might have been there at the same time at Florida State, and they experienced it totally differently, and you get to hear what impacted them, how it set them up for life, their family, etc.
Cottrell and everyone who works on Echoes is an alumni of Florida State themselves, making it extra special to see former students growing their careers as part of the FSU team.
I love the podcast, I really do. I think the most rewarding part is getting to connect with fellow Seminoles and fellow alumni. I have my master's and bachelor's from FSU, so I just love connecting with other alumni and hearing the fantastic things that they're doing and getting to kind of know them more on a personal level and dig deeper into what they do more than just on a surface level.
On my end of the episode, I work with our president and CEO, Julie Decker, to identify good alumni, and then we will send out formal letters to those guests, and that sometimes requires me working with their media team, their press teams, to finalize their schedule, when they can record, things of that nature.
There have been countless notable alumni featured, from CEOs to athletes to professors. FSU women's basketball head coach Brooke Wyckoff made an appearance in Season 2's opening episode.
With more than 280 degree programs and this year's freshman class coming from all 50 states and 42 countries, there's no singular Florida State experience. Echoes crosses many demographic lines coming from many different angles.
I'd love for people who hear the podcast to be proud of Florida State. There's some people out there with a lot of gravitas, people who are out there making moves and doing things, and you say, you know what, I was in the same major with that program. I had that same professor they were talking about. I went to the same Swanee Hall. I got my car towed the same way, that kind of thing. Having people be able to have one more point of contact and engage back, to learn more about what's going on, to see what today's student is doing, to hear what is new on campus, and all of the ways that Florida State continues to advance.
Whether they graduated in 1970 or 2020, every Florida State alumni has a success story to tell, with a common love for the university that shaped them. I'm Julia McCarthy, reporting.
With over 400 recreational and competitive clubs at Florida State, the Seminoles equestrian team is one of the school's hidden gems. Reporter Taylor Caradonna brings us over to the stables of this elite program.
Established in the spring of 2015, the Florida State Equestrian Club is celebrating 7 years since its debut. Although the club has been around for nearly a decade, many still don't know it exists.
A lot of students go through 4 years at Florida State and never realize there actually is an equestrian team.
Not only is there a club, but the riding disciplines offered include Western, hunt seat, and dressage.
Dressage really is dancing with your horse in a set pattern. All the movements that I do, they are still judged the same that they were over 100 years ago.
On top of participating in the club, Western team co-captain Laurent Smith promotes mixing fun with competitiveness.
All right, buddy. Any of our members are allowed to compete. We encourage it. We love when our members are trying new things and really pushing themselves. So a lot of people will, if they haven't ridden prior to being on the team, will take some time to take lessons and get used to riding before they enter as competitive members.
Western team co-captain Katie Hohenstein is involved in every aspect of the discipline.
Fun, right? So Western riding is pretty much any of your classic rodeo events, like roping, reining, barrel racing, that kind of stuff. Lots of timed events, but Western pleasure is more of a point scored event, but also categorized as Western.
No matter the event, a day in the life at the barn is about far more than practicing for shows.
The girls get here, they catch their own horses. Some need to be bribed with a little food or treat. They bring them in and groom them. They saddle them. We go out and have a lesson. They bring them back in, untack them, and then groom them. And starting this time of year, they're bathed daily.
Horsemanship is a valuable asset to the equestrian world. Along with this daily routine, the club ensures the adoration and care for the horses are plentiful.
This is Happy Jack. He's another one of our lesson horses. He really lives up to his name. Very good-natured. He's definitely one of the favorites around here. This is Bang Bang. He's another one of our lesson favorites. He's a really good boy.
Students who join the club not only ride, they also reap the benefits of being around horses.
Dealing with the horses, it's another mind, and I think that it teaches you how to be a little bit more intuitive with yourself and with the animal.
I like for them to win, of course, but I think it's very valuable just in life. You learn to be assertive with an animal that is
He's so good.
Much larger than you are. And I think this is just a great life lesson for everything, that you are confident and assertive.
Whether you're an incoming freshman, a graduating senior, or anything in between, the Florida State Equestrian Club welcomes all. I'm Taylor Caradona, reporting.
Stay tuned as we take a look at how Florida State honors their veterans as students and see how a fossil fanatic brings his research to life. The Student Veteran Center at Florida State gives former members of the service the chance to complete their college education with other members from the veteran community. Madison Dunbar talks with members of this program and shares what makes it so special to the students, staff, and university.
The idea with the Veteran Center is to provide a one-stop shop for all the students that are military, active military, Guard, Reserve, veteran, and independent. And we want to provide a place where they can come and get answers to all their questions and access to all their benefits in one trip.
The FSU Student Veteran Center was born in 2010 out of a simple concept.
If we can initiate, create, and sustain relationships, that those relationships result in our veterans graduating and then getting into careers or graduate school within 6 months. And to us, that's the so what. That's why we're here.
It's those very foundational principles that led former Army Lieutenant Michael Sussman to FSU and into one of the most challenging paths a student can walk.
When I first got here, and a motivating factor for going to medical school was a number of my friends decided to kill themselves. Billy Francis, the head of the Vet Center, really took me under his wing and really helped me through a lot of hard times.
And for FSU student veteran Donnie Esslinger.
Okay, y'all got my good side, thank God. Half of this side's titanium, so
Having joined the service right out of high school, then being wounded in Afghanistan, going to college was never in his plan.
I can speak for most combat vets or combat soldiers like I was. That's not a thought at all. It's free if you're like active duty, but we could care less about school. It's kind of the reason why I joined the military in the first place. I could have played baseball at a JUCO or something like that, but I'd rather join the military instead because I didn't want to go to school.
Donnie and Michael walk among the ranks of FSU student veterans where the average age is 34, each facing the challenge of shifting from a life of complete structure to a life they must now structure themselves.
I've left the military where I had a great sense of purpose, a great sense of identity. I may not have that anymore, right? While I may not have liked somebody telling me I needed to be somewhere at 5 a.m. in the morning, if I wasn't there, I was being called. If I'm not in class at 10, nobody's calling me.
And that's where the Student Veterans Center is mission critical, as it connects those who gave their all for their country to those who are prepared to give their all for them.
And to give them that academic confidence by connecting them with advisors and tutors if need be, to help them through that academic challenge, to quell those fears perhaps, and then to provide that sense of identity and that sense of place and talk about and begin to have the conversation on the post-service sense of purpose.
Support for student veterans at FSU can be seen far beyond just the Vet Center.
Athletics is incredible. They do military appreciation games throughout the year. They all have flybys over football games. Baseball does a veteran recognition on Saturdays throughout the season. Pretty much all the sports have their military appreciation game.
Over 30,000 students walk the campus of Florida State University, but through the ongoing work of the Veterans Center, those who have served this nation will never have to walk alone.
If you want to stay in the dark and you don't want to get anything done, you can just whatever, but if you show up and you start talking and asking questions, people will just take right care of you. It's probably the best experience I've had since I've been in Tallahassee, with just walking in with, arms wide open.
I'm Madison Dunbar, reporting.
If you drive in the state of Florida, you're probably familiar with the garnet and gold license plates on the road. But reporter Danielle Kelly brings an even deeper look to the purpose behind these plates and the opportunity it brings for students every year.
When you're traveling Florida's roadways, it's easy to recognize the legendary Seminole head presenting itself proudly on the vehicles in front of you. And that's because Florida State fans are displaying their school spirit with specialty FSU license plates across the entire state, representing all 67 counties. But choosing to accessorize a car with a hint of garnet and gold holds a much larger purpose than simply portraying FSU fandom.
So the FSU license plate was established in 1987 to support the funding of scholarship for students at FSU. It provides students an opportunity to go to school, to make school affordable. It provides a platform for students to interact with diverse peers because it brings in diverse students. And the other thing is it gives donors platform to be part of the FSU growth.
Since the Florida legislature approved the creation of the FSU tag in 1987, the specialty plates have grown to become one of the top-selling plates in the state, while generating over $1 million annually.
Because the funding, the fee is so small, $25 per FSU license plate, it gives access to everybody to be a donor.
And with that small cost of just $25 per year, these plates have raised more than $45 million in scholarship funds since first introduced, giving students like Ben Salazar the opportunity to advance their education as a Seminole.
The reason why I received it is because I do need financial aid, because money is a little tight at home. It covers a lot of expenses that I feel would be taken over by student loans that I would have had to take out. It clears my mind and it makes me feel more at ease, knowing that I probably won't have to pay off any student loan debt in the future.
With the help of this fund, students are able to select the classes they actually take interest in, while putting worries about course credit expenses to the side, allowing them to learn beyond their typical general education requirements.
So one thing that was big for me is I found out when I got here that you have to pay for each credit hour, and because of that, I was nervous at first that I would have to be more conservative with my approach of selecting classes. But thanks to the scholarship, I'm able to take classes that interest me that aren't exactly on my career path, such as mythology and stuff like that, that really piques my interest that is not on track with what my major is.
Who would have thought decking out your bumper in garnet and gold can impact a student's experience so much? While also helping scholarship recipients like Corey Schumann pursue their long-term academic passions.
Well, so my current degree program is in the arts, and so that really, having that financial security really helped to be able to do something that's traditionally seen as, not viable in terms of economically. It was really helpful in that it supported my ability to go to school in undergrad in a way that allowed me to save up money to go to get my master's, which was something that I knew I was going to have to do in the field that I'm going into, so that was really helpful for long-term planning to be able to continue in the field that I'm really passionate about.
And by reducing the long hours typically needed to maintain college life, these students have more time to connect with others and create lasting relationships at the university.
So being able to not have to work during school really enabled me to be able to be more involved on campus. I was a part of several different social organizations during my time in my undergraduate degree here, and so that's really allowed me to meet more people that don't necessarily think like I do, and that's really just that. I don't know, I feel like I've gotten a broader perspective on society through being able to go through classes without actually having to support myself financially.
So I'm a first-generation college student, and because of FSU license, that's the reason I was able to attend this university. It definitely relieved a lot of the financial stress that a lot of university students have to deal with in the United States. I don't think I'd be able to, be a full-time student and work in order to pay for tuition and for housing and for food and all of that without this program. I don't think I'd be able to go here. So I really appreciate that.
In appreciation for your support, the university will provide a $25 rebate for first-time license plate buyers as a way of saying thank you for donating to the successful future of these students. And your contribution doesn't go unnoticed.
Through FSU license plate, we are creating future donors. It's not only students today that we're funding their scholarship, but tomorrow, because they benefited from this program, they will be donors too.
Thank you to all of the FSU fans who have supported us through the purchasing of an FSU license plate. It has really helped me financially throughout college, as well as it's helped many students to pursue our passions through education.
While an FSU license plate fills the gap beneath your car's trunk, its purpose fills the cup of a Nolan need, giving them the ability to achieve academic excellence and pursue their dreams. I'm Danielle Kelly, reporting.
Florida State University is home to many renowned professors, including Doctor of Paleontology Gregory Erickson. Juliana Caban brings us into the Erickson Laboratory and shows what makes this fossil fanatic and his research so groundbreaking.
If there has ever been a time to learn about our prehistoric past and to understand what makes this renowned FSU professor tick, then you must take a trip that's 65 million years in the making.
I'm working with dead things, bones and teeth, but I look at fossil dinosaur bones not as dead animals. I look at them as formerly living animals, and we try to crack the code and bring them back to life, so to speak.
Humans love question, like a mystery. And I think they're just a mysterious group of animals that we don't know very much about.
This is just the thigh bone.
Dr. Gregory Erickson's lifelong career as a paleontologist has produced immense contributions to the research of prehistoric dinosaurs, not to mention the infamous T-Rex.
Tyrannosaurus rex is the most famous animal that ever lived. And I mean, just the smallest discovery about this animal is going to get in a high-profile journal, and it's going to be on the cover of the New York Times. And I've basically made a career preying on this animal, literally. Here's a view from my polarizing microscope of a Tyrannosaur's leg bone. And what interests me are these growth lines. And those are annual growth bands, and simply by counting those up, just much like tree rings, we can figure out how old this animal is.
From the Jurassic era and the millions of years in between, it's right here that he conducts his research at the Erickson Laboratory, digging into the past, piece by piece, striving to unearth new ground.
Well, welcome to the Erickson Lab. My lab's not like most labs in biology here. This is, it's more like a wood shop. we spend most of our time cutting up bones of all kinds of creatures. It's kind of like a zoo blew up or something around here.
Paleontology, I've always felt drawn to it, sort of because of the alien nature of kind of the world we're studying. It's so different from the modern world to look back in the past and see these completely strange animals, how they interacted.
And that just scratches the surface of all Erickson has achieved. He's made countless television appearances, including on BBC, Discovery Channel, Netflix, and National Geographic, where he was the host for a critically acclaimed show.
At Florida State University.
I've probably done 200 appearances on various science films, mostly about crocodilians or dinosaurs. When I first became a professor here at FSU, I was asked by National Geographic to host an animal show called Hunter and Hunted, and it was basically looking at cases where there were negative interactions between animals and humans.
And who is the hunted?
Apart from producing an extensive collection of groundbreaking research and televised content, Dr. Erickson's influence resonates not only with viewers and scientists, but in the classroom as well.
Every day I have to remind myself, this is what you grew up dreaming of doing, and now you just get to sit here and do what you've always wanted to do. And I just can't believe that he gave me that opportunity. I think about it all the time, and it sometimes brings me to tears, so.
Greg, not only is he he's brilliant scientifically, but as an educator, he's super engaging and fun, and yeah, he does a great job conveying the information and getting people excited about it.
When I fold up my tent and I'm done with my career, I like to look back and think that I've done some good. So for me, teaching is what keeps me going. I don't think I'd like this job if I just did research. So I enjoy interacting with people and young people in particular and teaching them about the sciences, but I also like doing research. And so I feel very blessed to have a job that, basically I'm getting paid to do my hobby. I love what I do, and I love being here at Florida State.
Florida State is proud to have Dr. Gregory Erickson among its celebrated educators. He is a role model who inspires students to consider following in his footsteps so that they too can leave their mark in history. I'm Juliana Caban, reporting.
And that's all for this month's edition of Three Torches. But be sure to tune in to FSU.edu and the College of Communication and Information's website to stay up to date with everything going on around the Florida State campus. On behalf of our awesome producers, instructors, reporters, editors, and volunteers, I'm your host, Alexandra DiCapua. We'll see you next time on Three Torches.